I'm gonna hit the record, and we're also gonna stream live to Facebook. So
great.
I'm gonna have to set this up. It's gonna take a minute here. And in the meantime, hi everybody, welcome. Give us just a minute to get the stream going on Facebook. Hi Laura, hi Kay.
I see it.
And it's still chewing over here, so it should be going.
Yeah, I think it's showing me it's live.
Okay, we are live, we are going. Hi and welcome. We are gonna talk in today's Catharsis Healing Talks webinar about waking up. Laura,
yes.
Take it away.
Welcome everybody. This is part 4. Is this 4? I should ask, or is this 5? I think this is 4 of our talks, kind of leading up towards the weavings that are part of the ceremony that we're going to be doing later in September. And if you haven't, later on we'll give you the link if you want to catch up on some of the other videos that we have done. This is the last 3 have been absolutely amazing. And this one is no less amazing. This one, I promise. This one, we're going to have Kate talk about what is waking up. What does it mean to walk the path towards living awake? And why is it so important to affect lasting changes in our lives and the world to wake up? Did you get all that, Kate? Yep. All right. So I will turn it. Oh, she's unmuted now. Okay. I'll turn it over to you, Kay.
All right. Thank you. Well, waking up. We sure hear that word a lot in our culture, especially in the spiritual neighborhoods of our culture, New Age and all the different religions, all these little subcultures. You hear people talking about waking up, and it seems that if you really look into it, they all have a different meaning for what waking up is for them. We hear people talking about we need to pay attention to the ecology, to the health of the planet and all the species on the planet, and the water and the wind and all those things. And for them, they use that word, waking up, meaning getting people to notice that we're in a lot of trouble, that the planet is in a lot of trouble, the ecology, the water, the health of everything, everybody on the planet. And that most certainly is true. People need to start paying attention and really realizing, looking into it, listening, finding things out about what's gone wrong with the state of being of our planet. And that's a kind of waking up everybody needs to pay attention to. But it isn't exactly what the Whitakers, the Catharsis meaning of waking up is. And we hear the word used in all kinds of other aspects, other neighborhoods of life around the planet. And the same thing goes. They're talking about their thing and their neighborhood and their information, and that people need to snap to it. They need to wake up and see, realize that there's something there, there's something big, there's something they need to pay attention to. You hear it in science. People need to wake up and understand the scientific aspects of life more, so that they can make better decisions in life. And yeah, that's sure true. But these are all pieces. You hear in some of the spiritual neighborhoods and New Age spirituality about waking up and what it means to them. For them, it means, ooh, we got a kitty friend coming here. She's going to lay down. She's laying down right next to me. Hi there. For these the New Agers, the more modern spirituality groups, waking up for them means a number of slightly different things, but it all has to do with waking up to the fact that we do have a spiritual nature to ourselves, and everything that's in our lives, everything that's on our planet, whether it's animated like this beautiful kitty, or it's a little less animated like the rocks and the soil, the water and the air. Everything has a spiritual aspect. And we've shut that out. We've shut it out of our lives. We've learned to deny it and ignore it. And it's caused enormous amount of pain. And there she is. It's caused so much distress and discomfort, and what I would like to refer to as thinking errors, belief errors, believing in all kinds of things that are not accurate, they're not true, they just lead to more lies and more inaccuracies and more bad behavior, more violence. So I agree with them. People need to wake up to the concept that there's more to us than just our very linear 3D physical daily lives. And for Katasi, and for the ancient pre-dynastic Egyptians, who believed very much the same kind of thing, waking up goes a whole lot farther than that. Waking up means realizing that we do have a lot of these things going on the planet. It means realizing all the things about the poisons and the garbage and killing off of species and all that stuff. Waking up to it, acknowledging it, thinking differently about it, not thinking that, oh, it's just something small. This is a big planet, and it's nothing I have to worry about, so I'm just going to ignore it and forget it. That's what we learn to do in our modern culture. But we can't afford to do that anymore. We need to start paying real attention. So for the ancients, waking up means coming out of that complete stupor, this blind, foggy stupor of asleepness that has grasped the people of our modern culture all over the planet for many, 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 many centuries. It's been with us for a really long time. And it gets perpetuated and passed down from one generation to the next. Waking up means coming out of that fog, coming out of that a pretend life, coming out of a life that's full of lies. The Whitakers used to describe it as a box. We learn how to put ourselves in a box, a self-made and a culturally made box that disconnects us mentally and with our physical senses, totally disconnects us from everything that's around us. Even things that we think we're really close to or connected to. The people we live with, the ones we love, our mates, our children, our parents, our pets. We think, we learn in this culture how to think. All these blind beliefs that we learn, we've learned in our culture to just take on, suck up, don't ever question all these ideas and concepts and beliefs. We take them on blindly and we hold them as real, really, really real. And we use those beliefs to create that box. We use those beliefs to create every thought that we have and every emotion that we have throughout the day and in our dreams at night. This is the world we think we live in. It's a box. But we think we're perceiving everything. That we look out the window and we see the neighborhood, or we see the landscape, we see the sky, and we think we know it all. We understand it all. We've been to school, we watch stuff on the TV and movies, we're on the internet all the time, have this data coming to us constantly. In our culture, we blindly believe that we are really well informed and that we really understand what life is and what our world is and what our daily life is like, our daily little world. We have no clue that we're living in this self-made, culturally made box. And it's dictating everything. When we think we're looking at the most important people in our life, that we're face to face with them, we're looking in their eyes, we're talking, we believe that we really understand and know this person, that we know and understand with great depth what the relationship is. We believe that we got a real good handle on who this person is and what they're like and what they think and what they believe, what are the likes and dislikes that they have in their life. What's important to them? What do they do and think and feel all day long? We think we know that. We think we know all about that person. What we really are perceiving is a picture that's made out of all of our blindly held beliefs and all of the emotions that go with it, all the culturalizations that go with it, all these lies we've been fed all our life. And with all of that, and little pieces of information we get from this person, we jump to conclusions about what that means. And we make this picture, a picture of who and what this person is. But it's nothing more than looking at a flat television screen that's sitting inside of our box. And when we are thinking about this person, or we're engaging this person, we're having this conversation with them, interacting, we're holding that picture that we have inside of our mind. We're holding up that picture to ourselves and looking at that picture. We're interacting with that picture. And we hold that picture out to the person. This is who you are. This is who I think you are. This is who I deeply, strongly believe. This is who you are. And this is who you should be. And you should be acting like this. You should be behaving and reacting just like this picture. And then when they don't, we get very confused. We get thrown off. And we can get really upset and hurt and angry because they're not following the picture. When we wake up, we break out of the box. We break out of all of those pictures that we hold of ourselves and everybody else and everything else. We throw it all away. We stop blindly believing in it. The way we have learned to take on these beliefs through our lives about anything, about any subject, we have a lot of emotional charge to that. And it's like a dogma. It becomes our personal dogma. So anytime any of these beliefs get challenged, anytime any of the pictures get challenged, it's like sacrilege. And we get very emotionally disturbed about that and react accordingly. And from the point of view of the Whitakers and the ancient Egyptians, this is what being asleep is. This is reacting on automatic pilot, responding according to the beliefs, responding according to the degree, the charge of the dogma that we hold around all these pictures and all these beliefs. When we wake up, we let that all go. We understand that the information we collected in the past is just data. It's just information. It doesn't necessarily have any reality to it. It doesn't necessarily have accuracy. It might be correct, it might not, it might be partially correct. But we don't hang on it with this emotional charge and the dogma that it has to be really, really correct. When we wake up, all that charge goes away. The blind beliefs are no longer our prison cell. We no longer have the prison of the box. And we can actually perceive things that are really out there. And we perceive ourselves for really and truly exactly who we are and what we are. And everything that we have done in this life, all of our actions, we see them for what they really are. When we see that person, that loved one, we see who and what they really are. We're not expecting them to be or do anything else. We're not holding up lies about them inside of ourselves. The pictures are full of lies. We're perceiving who and what is actually there and feeling in that heart level, heart-centered way, a non-linear way. And some of that has emotional feeling in it, but this heart-centered feeling experience, it's like a sixth sense. It's how we experience everything around us and inside of us, and our interactions that are connected us to everything. It's an experience. It has sensation. It's a feeling. When we're asleep, we shut off most of those sensations, the experiences, the feelings. We shut them out. We're in that box, and we're not paying any attention to any stimulus from the outside. We're making up our own stimulus on the inside of the box and pretending that that's real reality and that's our whole life. And that's the whole world. So there's a very big difference between what's in that box, living in the box, thinking and feeling the emotions and everything else that's there in the box with us. It's a box of lies. It's living lies. Most people don't want to hear that. It's a really scary thing. And it's extremely offensive to most people that they are living in a pretend land. They're living an illusion. An illusion of their own creation. An illusion that a great deal of it has been taught to us. We've been taught to be that way, to think that way, to emotionally feel that way, to perceive the sensations of all our interactions, of all levels. We've taught to perceive it in that way. So we can't go around blaming ourselves or beating ourselves up because we learned how to live in a box. It's not our fault. But if we really want something different, if we want something more, then it becomes our responsibility. We need to understand that we're living in that box. And the world, our whole world, and all the problems that we see, the horrors that we see in all directions, all around us, they're not going to stop as long as everybody's living in their own little box and they're isolated and disconnected. They're living in this separation. It's self-created. It's part of the illusion. But when you think about it, you start to notice that there really is something different than the box. There's something more. There's something a lot better. Something that fulfills the loneliness of the box. the emptiness of the box, the belief systems that we make the box out of says we are an island. Each person, each human is an island. We're separated from everything else. We're not connected. There's no energetic connection. There's no telepathic connection. There's no spiritual connectedness. We're separated. The culture tells us that things of a spiritual nature don't exist. That is some kind of pretend thing. The biggest piece of our being is our spiritual nature, the spiritual part of our essence. The who and what we really and truly are. Yes, we do have a physical body right now, and we use that to interact here and be here in a lifetime on this planet. It's just a little piece of who and what we are. We're so much more. The physical body is part of the material, 3D time space, the linear aspect of reality and our beingness at the moment. But we have so much more, huge. Our spiritual nature, the spiritual quality of who and what we are. And that's the part that is eternal. It exists before we have this physical body in this lifetime. It exists after it. And our consciousness, it has consciousness, same consciousness as before the body, same consciousness that you are using and experiencing right now in the body. And after you die, that spiritual essence with all of your consciousness and awareness, it's still there. Doesn't go away, doesn't dissipate, it doesn't shrivel up, doesn't die. That is the nonlinear part of us. That's the spiritual part. Nonlinear, that means things that don't have to do entirely with 3D time, space, and physical things. It goes way past that. And in the spiritual aspect of our being, we're connected. We may not, in the physical form and with our physical eyes, see this connectedness, but we are. In some cultures, in some spiritual traditions, they have called it threads, energetic threads, cords, that we are connected to everybody, all of the humans, all the animals, even the pesky bugs, the mosquitoes and the cockroaches. We're connected. We're connected to all the rocks and the dirt and the sand and water, the whole atmosphere, clouds, lightning. We're connected to the planet. We're connected to all the other celestial bodies out there in space. We're connected to the space itself. We're connected to the energies. The energy flows of electromagnetic energies, the currents, the fields. We're connected. We're connected to the subtle energies. We are connected to everything. And when we wake up, when we totally, truly wake up, we perceive this. It's really obvious. Because in this connectedness, we're receiving all kinds of information and energies and love and healing, teaching, nurturing. And we're sending it back out again, even when we don't know we are. When we're asleep, we have no clue that we're doing this. But it's who and what we are, so you can't turn it off. It's still happening. We are sending out all the same things to everybody, everything else. We're receiving from them all these same kinds of things. We live in a sea, an ocean of energies and information and love and connectedness. It's all around us on the planet. It's inside us. All of our cells and the molecules are all connected in the same way, talking to each other, keeping the body functioning. And that's a much bigger part of our physical functioning than the physical chemical movements and exchanges of things on that physical level of our body. A lot more is going on there, and it's a far more important to helping us stay physically alive and healthy. When we're asleep and we're in that box, we're blinding ourselves to all of this experience, all of this information, all of this life energy, all of this love. The world is created out of love. Everything in our universe starts with unconditional love. That's what we're created out of. That's what the planet's created out of. That's what all the atoms are created out of. That's what the sunlight itself is created out of. Everything. When we're asleep, we're missing out. We're pretending it doesn't exist. We're pretending we don't get any of this. And that's a starvation. That's the worst kind of starvation. We live in a culture that is starving. For many, many millennia, we have been teaching our children how to live in these boxes and spiritually starve, energetically starve, believing that there is no connectedness and they're isolated and separated and abandoned. In our culture, we live in abandonment. And look around you. Look at the results. This starvation, this being cut off, being abandoned. It feels to us like the world has abandoned us. But in reality, we have shut out the world. We've shut out everything that it was of a spiritual nature, a true spiritual nature, a non-linear nature, everything of the unseen. All this world that when we wake up, we can perceive all these energies and information and love and passions and excitement and curiosity and seeking for things that thrill us and feed us, and the love of it all that creates an entire field, a living field of energy. A living field of energy, field of awareness. It has a bunch of similar names like that. It stretches out through the whole universe. And it takes up all of the space between all of our molecules, atoms, and subatomic particles. It takes up what science calls the void between, it's the space between things. And it encompasses all the things that are in the space. It encompasses all of time. It's a field, a living, conscious field full of all sorts of energies. All things are part of it in our universe. And those cords of connection exist in this field. They thrive in this field. Helmut and I recently went to Los Angeles. If you've been watching any of the other things that we've done in the shows, you probably have heard. I presided over the wedding of a dear friend, and that was fabulous. Los Angeles is very different than Santa Fe, where we're living. We live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And Los Angeles, I hadn't been there in so many years, and wow. This is, I guess you could say that this is boxland. This is a concentration of box living. And the energies there, the field itself, is so different because of it. And where I noticed it the strongest was on the beach. The wedding was in Pacific Palisades, which is a little community right on the beach in the Los Angeles area. We went down to the beach to, walk in the sand and be in the waves, the water, and it felt really, really different. It was quite a surprise to me. The field itself didn't have a lot of activity in it on the beach. There wasn't a lot of life forms in the water or the sand. And there weren't a lot of spirits there. A lot of stuff goes on those beaches. And there's a lot of pollution in the water. They have machines that go over the beach like really, really early in the morning or in the night to sift things out, clean the top layer of the sand. They're trying to get rid of things like broken glass and who knows what other sorts of stuff and junk. Most of the beaches, there's some that are private beaches for sure. You're not supposed to go on them at all. Others, if you've got a car, you're going to need to park it someplace, and it's all paid parking lots to go to the beach. And that's city living, that's for sure. But the feeling difference of the beach, the waves, that stretch of the water, where the water's meeting the sand, and that stretch of sand. There was a true reduction of interaction within the field, and a true reduction of interaction within the connectedness in that field. I would hate to see that happen to any more places on our planet. And I know that it certainly has. And we've seen pictures where it's frightful, whether it's in the ocean or on a beach or in land. And it's on the more physical level. You look way out in the Pacific Ocean, you look in the Atlantic, you look in the Indian Ocean. They all have these islands of floating garbage. The one last I heard in the Pacific, the main one in the Pacific, is as big as Texas. Now that kind of takes your breath away. That on a physical level is horrific and unexcusable. If you can look outside the box and see what's really happening along with all the garbage, the unbelievably creepy junk, trapped animals that die in the garbage, all that stuff. You look on that nonlinear, energetic, spiritual level, the unseen level, the level of the field in places like that. It's extremely disturbing. There's so much that we've lost on this planet already. It can be retrieved. We can retrieve it. You can make the changes needed to retrieve it. But the feeling of that field, you compare it to being in the wild, a healthy wild place on the planet, in the forest, in the jungle, in the desert, where man hasn't done anything to change it, to hurt it. It's still intact. The field that is there, the spirits that are there, that live there. There's so many different kinds, so many different kinds of life and intelligence, and the connectedness and the love and the sharing. And it's like a giant party all the time. It's so beautiful. It feels, the perception of it, the feeling of it, and the emotions are so much love. There's so much beauty, incredible beauty. All the knowledge, all the understanding of how the world works, even on a scientific level, it's all there in the field. And the knowledge is just there to acquire. It's from perceiving and experiencing it. And it's so delicious. It's so beautiful. You take that, you experience that, outside of the box, really feeling, experiencing, gaining that knowledge, the wisdom that the knowledge brings, the love, the health. And you compare it to something like the beach in LA, or worse, the island of garbage in the middle of the Pacific, and any of those other places on the planet. We've done some horrific things to this planet and to ourselves, taking that perception away from ourselves. All of that love and the nourishment and the camaraderie, the depth of connectedness, friendship, interaction, the exchange. We don't have any words in anybody's language that comes anywhere near close to describing the depth of that, the completeness of it, the wholeness of it, the beauty. And when we're asleep, we're depriving ourselves of it. So for the Whitakers and their Katasi tradition, and for the pre-dynastic Egyptians, and as I've heard other elders from other ancient traditions starting to speak up in the last few years about the real things. This is what they consider the real things, the most important things. They're starting to talk about these things and share them, teach them. This is what is so incredibly important about waking up. Why our world, why humanity needs to truly, truly wake up all the way. The little steps, the first steps, like noticing, oh my goodness, there is a garbage pit floating in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And it's real and it's really bad. What can I do about it? Those are important. Those are first steps. First little peeks at waking up. Paying attention to and noticing the emptiness, the hole that we carry around with us as individuals inside those boxes. There's a starvation there. Paying attention to it, acknowledging it, letting ourselves experience it with our full consciousness, not just keeping it shoved in our subconscious. And then looking for, what do I do? How do I do this waking up, this getting out of this box, stopping the lies? That's where we're at. And as a species, if we don't make a real big effort to wake up in a really big way, all of humanity, and start making some serious changes throughout our world. Serious changes in the way we are thinking and believing and feeling and perceiving. In other words, getting out of that box. That changes how we think, how we perceive, how we feel, how we assess things, the kind of decisions we end up making. When you can perceive the world the way it really is outside the box, You make very, very different decisions. And you interact with each other, human to animal, human to plant, human to the dirt, the soil, the water, the air, everything. You interact very, very differently. Your priorities change drastically. That's what scares a lot of people about coming out of the box. They don't want any of that to change because they know what it is inside the box and they're comfortable with it, they think, because it's known. But when you really start thinking about it, is it comfortable? Is that box really comfortable? Can you stretch out? Can you touch anything outside of that box? Do you really know what anything is inside the box or outside the box? Is it all make-believe? Yeah, it is. We have to be real with ourselves, honest with ourselves, and accept that. That's a reality. It's a scary one. It's a gross one, but it's real. And we need to accept it so we can change it. And then take all the steps, the biggest steps, to change it. The teachings of the weavings are all about changing this, about helping humanity get out of their boxes, dissolving away, clearing away the entire cultural box. We've been imprisoned in it. Literally, it is a prison for many millennia. And it's time. This is the time. And all the primitive peoples, the ancient peoples who've been carrying this knowledge and passing it down, they'll all say, this is the time. This is the end of that old world. And it's time for humanity to wake up, create a very, very different kind of world. When you start to think about it, the way we would be thinking in our minds, not in the old way, the old habitual way of thinking, all these blind beliefs and all the stupid junk they create, the stupid pictures and stories that they create about what our lives are and what they're supposed to be. And you start to crack out of the box, you see it, it's so clear. It's so very, very obvious. We've been living in a lot of lies. Living a lie. And in the Katasi tradition, there's no right or wrong to it. There's no blame. It's not anybody's fault. But it is our responsibility to get ourselves awake and help everybody else to get awake and change the culture, change the way we think down to a very basic level inside of ourselves, the way we perceive the world. As soon as you start to break out of the box, your perception of everything around you changes. It just starts to really change. And the more out of the box you are, the more it changes, the more real the world is. The more you perceive, the clearer it is, the more beautiful it is, the more alive it is, and it's connected, deeply, deeply, lovingly connected to everything and everybody. With that perception, with that knowledge and wisdom, we can make a very, very different world. And pretty rapidly. It doesn't have to take a real long time. It just takes waking up. That's the key. That's the Katasi's definition. And the ancient Egyptians, pre-dynastic, and many other peoples whose histories go way, way back, antediluvian, before the flood, way, way, way back before that. So that's waking up.
Holy smokes. Wow. I muted you, Kate, because the feedback. Thank you so much. This was beautiful. I have a couple of questions. If any of the people listening, if you have questions, just click on the Q&A icon on Zoom or post them on Facebook. Laura, do you have anything?
I have lots of thoughts. I go with your thought question. I have thought questions, but if you'll go with yours first, we might have the same.
Okay. One big one would be, how do we get there? You alluded to it, but can you expand a little bit on it?
How do we get there? We need to try to notice the box. We're in a box, a self-made prison that blinds us from everything, everything, everything. And when we can begin to grasp that, we need to reach out. In the Katasi tradition, the very first thing that they teach to their children when they're tiny, when they're toddlers, is the ceremony of finding your song. Finding your own song. And it's the most important ceremony that they do. It's little, it's short, it's simple, it's easy, but it's the most powerful thing that I have ever come across in all the different things that I've studied, all the different cultures and ceremonies and things I've experienced. This is the most powerful. They do this before every ceremony, big or small. They do it every day as like a meditation. And we've done a number of public song ceremonies. So there's a lot of recordings that are available on our website. And there's some of them on YouTube, I would think. Yes?
I'm not sure actually if I put any up yet. But there are some on our
get
Facebook.
some up there right away.
Okay. There are some on the Facebook group.
Okay, the Facebook group, good. The song ceremony is, like I said, it's simple. And it can be very, very short. It could be really, really long. It could be as long as you want. It is a kind of meditation. And it teaches you how to direct and control your attention, to be able to aim your attention wherever you want and hold it there and not be distracted by anything else. In our culture, we're taught how to keep ourselves distracted. No matter what we try to focus on, we have all this babble from the blind beliefs and all this racket going on that just keeps popping up from our linear mind, into the front screen here, into our conscious awareness, and babbling away, just pulling our mind, this way and that way and that way and that way. But the song ceremony teaches you how to take control of it again and to keep control of it. And the first thing that we learn how to take control of and aim our attention at is the feeling quality of our song. And song is a word that the Whitaker's people use and have for millennia, many millennia, that describes their soul or their spirit, their beingness. They like to say their totality because it describes your soul, your energetic consciousness, but it's also describing the physical body that you have right now, that you've made for yourself so that you could be experiencing a physical life here on Earth in this 3D time-space physical world. And for them, that's part of your wholeness, your totality. So you have your consciousness, the energetic part of yourself that is eternal. Is alive before your physical body was. It'll be alive after your physical body's gone. But while you're here, your physical body's part of your song, your totality. And they believe that's sacred. So that's included in the definition of what song is. And they believe that it's really, really easy in the last centuries, millennia, for people to create a box to live in, a box full of blind beliefs, to be accepting information about anything and taking it on as a truth, the real truth, and believing in it, and believing in it really, really strongly and dogmatically with a big emotional charge in it. When we learn to perceive our song, we're skipping past all the blind beliefs. We're making a big hole in the box, and we're perceiving our totality, our song. We focus our point of awareness on what our beingness feels like. That's how we perceive it with our feelings. That's a very non-linear thing to do. The linear way of going about things is what we learn in our modern culture, and that is all with the mind. Everything is dictated by the mind and guided by the mind and our beliefs. The beliefs are ruling the mind, and we want to step out of that, out of the linear mind, out of the words, out of the beliefs, out of the definitions, and go to the feeling quality of who we are. It is our selfness. It's the who and what we always have been underneath all of the blind beliefs in the pictures. It's the who and what we have always been through so many eons of existence. The Whitaker say that we are a unique individual piece of Creator. Connected to everything else in creation. And we turn our perception to feel that, to experience it. That's where the nonlinear comes in. The nonlinear part of us has perceptive abilities, a lot of them, very important ones. And by turning our attention to our song and to feeling our song, experiencing what the feeling is, we're using those nonlinear senses. And we're learning through experience about who and what we really are. Not what those silly little pictures are that we've been making of ourselves and other people make of ourselves and we take on and believe in them too. And we collect them. We get past all of that. We throw all of that away. So by doing the song ceremony, every time you do it, you learn more about what your song is, who your song is, who you really are, and what your real identity actually is, and how you are connected to everything in the universe. Deeply, intimately, beautifully, deliciously connected to everything and everybody. The whole field, full of all this connectedness and all of this interaction. We're part of that. We perceive it. We learn to perceive it. We feel it. We experience it. We learn from it. Every time we do the song ceremony, we're learning more about all of that and more about ourselves. And our songs are so ancient and so vast that we just keep learning something new all the way. Even if you live to be over 100 and you're still doing the song ceremony, you'll keep learning new things about your song and yourself and your song's history. Were you in other lifetimes? And that is a whole nother different, delicious story. Where have you been in other lifetimes? Not necessarily just on Earth or just as a human.
Okay.
So toy with that little concept for a while.
So in catastrophe, song is the doorway.
It is a doorway. The song ceremony, learning about your song, it is a doorway to knowledge, and I mean real knowledge, not just somebody's data idea that you accept blindly. But these are things that you are experiencing on an extremely deep level, a spiritual level, a totality level.
So it's the main doorway to waking up, to living awake.
Absolutely. Well put.
Okay. One more question I have. Do you have anything, Laura, you want to jump in?
No, actually, you did kind of cover part of the question, and there's somebody who's asked a similar question that I also was leading to. So no, I'm currently good.
Good. Okay.
Did you want me to read it, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
This question is from B. I'm not sure if it's BE or just B. It feels unbearable and overwhelming to let the devastation that humanity has created into my heart. How do I let it in without getting depressed? And what can I do to help clean it up? And I would add that to that, Kay, is like, do you let it in?
Well, there's sort of a yes and sort of a no. Yes, you have to let some of it in, because you need to realize the reality of it, the depth of it. We all do. But what we learn in our culture, when we let something in, what we learn is to dwell on it. We make it part of our blind belief system and part of our mental babble, and we just let it bubble up, and we go over it and over it. It goes round and round and round. Doesn't solve anything, doesn't go anywhere. There's no resolution. It just pulling the thoughts up, the pictures up, the emotion that goes with it. And yes, we, as a total humanity, especially the modern culture, has done this. And it's truly, truly not good. And it's not healthy. And in the Katasi way, in the pre-dynastic Egyptian way of looking at these kind of things, we don't try to point fingers. We don't want to try to blame and condemn in the blaming. But obviously, logically, we know how that garbage got there to the middle of the oceans, and so many of the other really awful, terrible things that we've done to our planet. We know how, and we know that it's us, it's Earth humans. So aren't any aliens came and spewed their garbage in the middle of our ocean. We did it. We did it all by ourselves. And we don't want to follow the old cultural way of blaming ourselves and condemning with black darts ourselves or anyone else. No individuals, no companies. We don't indulge in condemning and throwing black darts and hate. And all of those kinds of things. That's all part of the box, the culture that we're trying to let go of and grow out of. But when we accept and acknowledge that it's there and just how awful it is on all levels, and that hurts to know that it's there and it's hurting other life forms and the humans and the waters and air and on and on. In order to do something to change it, we have to change the piece of it that we have inside of ourselves. Each of us grew up in a culture that let this happen, that took actions to make that happen. We have all kinds of ideas about how to live our daily lives. And a lot of those ideas lead to that garbage ending up in the ocean like that, and all kinds of other terrible places. We need to learn how to think outside of that box. We've got to get out of the box. And thinking out of the box, how can we go about living our daily lives? We've gotten really used to a number of different modern conveniences. Do we still want to keep those? Are there ways that we can still have these kind of conveniences, or the convenience that some of these things, like plastic, give us, but learn how to do it in a totally different way? We have to think very differently, with our priorities completely different. When we live in the box, our priorities are all about the lies and the pictures, full of lies. The way we're pretending life is on earth and our daily lives, and we're pretending that it's not having any bad effects on anything, anybody, anywhere, and it's all really nice and good, and we're upper echelon humans because we get to live in this nice modern way. We have to totally think differently. All of those things I just said are based on many blind beliefs that help create the garbage pile in the middle of the ocean. We have to think. We have to learn to watch our own thoughts and our own beliefs. When we do the song ceremony, we start noticing that. They start popping up in our awareness a lot, rapidly, in big numbers. The way we think at the deepest mental level, all these beliefs, they add up to what we have right now. And we have to change that. We have to change how we think. The Whitakers always said that thought and emotion are two sides of the same coin. So when we learn how to think, all of these different types of modern culture stuff, all horrible ways of thinking, shallow, in the box, they have with them emotions. They are imprinted with emotions. And every time the thought comes up, the emotion comes up. Every time that emotion comes up, those thoughts come up. Two sides of the same coin. So as we are babbling away these blind beliefs in the box, and whatever the thoughts are, the emotions that are attached to them are coming up, and we are, in a sense, forced to feel those emotions connected to those thoughts. And we feel it over and over, and we think it over and over. It just keeps repeating. Broken record. We have to notice that we do it, how we do it, and what are the components? What are we thinking? What are those beliefs? What are the emotions tied to them that don't really need to be there, that aren't inherently natural to that thought? A lot of people feel like they are very entitled to that plastic in their lives. Are they? Are any of us? Is it truly the plastic? Is that what we have to change? We've certainly done the wrong things with the plastic. We have to change how we're thinking and believing, all the way down, all those beliefs. When you get to really looking at it, almost every single thing that you think about or you think you know in the world, in your life, is a belief. There's a belief there, at least one. And you took it on without any investigations. That's what we learn in this culture. We take information on and we believe it immediately and blindly. We don't look into it. We don't try to find out how much truth there is in there, or if it's all just somebody's made up something. And that's how we're living inside that box. That's what life is like inside the box. To get out of the box, you have to work at that level. Each individual has to clean up whatever goes on in their own minds with their own beliefs and unplug them. What the Whitakers say is that information that comes to you is just information. It's just data. It doesn't have to have any emotion with it, inherently, doesn't. It's just information, and you have no idea how true or real it is, or how accurate it is. You need to do your own investigations to find out. And from their point of view, those investigations mean using a lot of your nonlinear capabilities, your nonlinear perception, nonlinear mind, nonlinear connectedness to the universe where all this information exists. And where we find out the truth of things. The song ceremony is the biggest tool to teach you how to clean that up. When you can feel and experience with that feeling your song, and you keep experiencing it over and over and going deeper and exploring more and more aspects and more corners of your song, you find out the truth more and more, over and over. It just keeps getting more and bigger and better. The Whitakers talked about your song as like an iceberg, a really big iceberg out in the ocean, and you're in this little rowboat, you're rowing up to it, and you see this huge mountain of ice sticking up above the water. It's just a mountain, an iceberg. And that is representing your song. So you pull your boat up there and tie it down, and you start hiking. You start checking it out, seeing what this is, what this iceberg is. It's huge, it's humongous. It takes you quite a while. You really cover every inch, studying it, feeling it, examining it, getting to know it. And that's the same as getting to know your song in the song ceremony over and over. And one day, maybe you've covered most everything that you could see on the top of the water. One day you look down and the water's really clear And wow, that mountain, that iceberg goes down underneath the water. And it's much bigger. There's so much more of it under the water, and so much more to explore. And that's what our song is like. There's always more. There's always more to explore. There's always more to learn. And your song is connected to everything else, and there's so much more knowledge there. So whatever we want to learn, whatever we want to know the truth about, it's there in our connectedness. It's in our song. It's in our connectedness. It's right there at our fingertips. We don't have to make up lies or accept lies and take that information on as real and what the world is. That's the old way. That's the way of living in the box. So there are many different techniques too. The Whitakers, the ancient Peruvians, many of these other traditions, they have ceremonies to teach you ways to turn your attention purposefully out there into the connectedness and find whatever it is you want and go and explore it, experience it, and learn. We need to do that. We need to learn to find information differently, to deal with information differently, to perceive it, to assess it differently, to take action in a very different way. And that always comes back to your blind beliefs and your priorities. What do you prioritize in your life? When you start getting out of the box, your priorities change drastically. And life becomes a lot more fun, and a lot more alive, and a lot more beautiful, and a lot more full of love, a lot more connected. We need to learn how to live that way individually, and we need to learn how to live that way collectively as a culture, as communities, as a whole total human consciousness. And that's where we're headed. The ancients have said for many millennia, that's where we're headed. We have everything that we need. We don't have to get more brain cells or different DNA or light up this DNA or that one. Or we have everything that we need. We're totally capable. We just have to take the steps. I hope that answers.
Answered my question. I think a lot of people keep looking outside to fix things. It's not that we don't need to see it, but I found personally, and of what you're saying, that when I found my song and worked inside first, the looking outside and what was there and what needs help, it doesn't overwhelm. It's just a thing we do next.
Okay, this was really amazing again. I have one more question, and I muted you again. I have one more question to close it out. What are the things you treasure the absolute most from your journey towards awakening and the level of awakeness where you're living today?
Oh, that's a nice question.
I just unmuted you, so.
Oh, okay. I said, that is a nice question. A really good one. What do I treasure the most?
What are the things?
Wow.
What are all the things that have changed that you really cherish today, aside from myself?
And I do treasure you. That's for sure. Well, you could say, if I hadn't changed, I wouldn't, no way in hell would I ever have the relationship that I have with Helmut, that we have with each other. If I was still in the box, no way. We would have killed each other. If we even got that far. Well, I cherish all of what waking up brings. What all of it is. It's a state of being. It's a state of living, a state of mind, a state of feeling, a state of behaving, of action that has nothing to do with the box. It's everything that the box is not. And when you're in the box, you don't even know that you're missing anything, which is really sad, really quite horrifying. When you're out of the box and you realize how big, how vast, how ancient you are, that your song is, that's you, the real you. And all the other songs are ancient like that, and vast, and wonderful, beautiful, beyond description. The connectedness that you can feel with yourself, with your own song, with everything else. All the other humans, everything out there that is animate, inanimate, they're all alive. Very alive. Very, very deliciously alive and dynamic and so full of love. In this connectedness, there's so much love and acceptance and appreciation. There's no way you could ever feel isolated or alone or unwanted or unloved, because everything loves you. Everything is a piece of Creator. Everything is a unique, individual piece of Creator. And it's all made of love. The Creator is pure love, pure consciousness. And the universe is so full of it. It's so deliciously full of it. And so are you. Everything in creation is full and alive, beautiful, ancient, interacting in deep, meaningful, true ways. When you're in the box, you never really know what anybody else is thinking or feeling, what the truth is about what they think about you, whether they want to interact with you or be connected to you, or you don't know the same thing about, trees, plants, the animals, the soil, the water, the air, the earth itself, because you're not interacting with it. You're blindsided yourself to all of that. When you're awake, You're experiencing it, you're feeling it, you're in the middle of it. And there's no popularity contests. Everything in creation loves diversity. The Whitakers say, the ancients say, that the Creator loves diversity. The more, the better. So the way of thinking that we learn in our culture about not liking things that are different, being suspicious of things that are different, judging things that are different. You know, whether it's a sandwich or it's a human or whatever it is, we tend to think negatively. We tend to think with judgment and condemning and black darts, and that's what we learned. But the real world outside of that box isn't like that. You're able to perceive it, feel it, experience it all the time. So everything that awakeness provides, that's my favorite.
Okay, we're more than 90 minutes in, so I think we'll leave it at that. Do you have anything else, Laura?
Yeah, this is great. Other than reminding people we will be doing this again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to share much more with the video as we post it, and about the ceremony coming up and about everything else that we're going to be doing. So stay tuned. One more thing. Talk about the aliveness.
Talk about, say it again.
Talk about the aliveness, the difference.
The aliveness. When we're in the box, we tend not to notice the aliveness, our aliveness, or the aliveness of anything else. We barely notice it. And because of our beliefs, we've decided that there are only a few things that are alive, and the rest of everything else is not alive. Like rocks and dirt and water and the air and a planet or the sun, molecules, all those things we have determined to dictate it in the box. They are not alive. So if we blindly believe that, we certainly are not going to be expecting any kind of aliveness in any of those things. We only expect aliveness in things that we think are animated. The plant world, the animal world, humans. And we create a hierarchy out of that. And of course, humans are at the top of the hierarchy. We're the most alive, we're the smartest, we think the most, we're the most conscious. That's the belief system inside the box. We're snobs. But don't blame yourself. It's the culture. You learned it from the culture. When you get outside the box, you notice how incredibly vibrant your own song is, how alive it is, the degree of aliveness, of consciousness in every inch of you, physical and non-physical. It's beautifully, passionately, excitedly alive, and it's so delicious, especially if you compare it to how you felt when you were in the box, because you don't really think of it very much when you're inside the box, that you're alive or what aliveness is or what it feels like. And you turn the volume down on it as much as you can without dropping dead. So when you do the song ceremony and you find your song and you feel it, you experience it, it is so alive, so vital and so vibrant. And then you notice that everything out there in creation is also alive and conscious and vibrant and ancient and much more vast than its little physical body, holding all kinds of intelligence. It perceives, it communicates, everything perceives, communicates, and it loves, and it's curious, and is so excited to be alive. You feel it in your own song. You feel this incredible excitement to be alive, to have this aliveness and all this perception and this experience, this feeling, sensing stuff, not just physical. Your spiritual part of your being has a lot of senses. So we're perceiving all kinds of stuff. And so is everything else. It's all very passionately alive. And it's like the most beautiful symphonies you've ever heard. The most delicious, tasty morsels you've ever put in your mouth. The most beautiful everything. The whole field is alive. That the field, that space between things. And it fills the space that where there are things. That's the field of aliveness, field of awareness, field of attention, field of life. I hope that gives a hint at what this is, what being alive is, what being awake is. You wake up to your aliveness. It's just how alive you are and how extraordinary it is, how wondrous it is.
Wow, thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
You see all these adrenaline junkies, jump off a cliff to feel alive, or people on stage for one time connecting with their audience and they're like, I've never felt so alive. And then You know, that was my experience. It's like, you know, this practice of finding your song and connect, you know, it's just like every moment there's that gift of aliveness. You know, it's, you don't have to go out looking, it's right with you. And, you know, I constantly get, you know, people asking me why I'm so happy. You know, it's that connection to aliveness, you know, that it has complete possibility of being with me all the time. I don't have to look anywhere else for it. It just keeps getting better and better. So I get what the best part is when you say it, and I'm at the tip of my iceberg. I'm excited to see the rest of it. Thanks, Kay. Very awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Just before closing out, our websites need to be updated. So they're a little bit in disarray and they don't give you up-to-date information. But if you're curious, if you want to talk with us, you can go to katase.world. That's KATASEE.WORLD/talk. And you can arrange a free session with me. And Laura, where can they find you?
They can find me you can email me at info@lauraketty.com, and Laura spelled LORAKEDDIE.com. And you know, especially as more questions are coming up through the last 4 now webinars, and you know, there's another one coming up. There's questions, especially for those who aren't watching it live, that come up. I believe you can also post them to the Katase Healing Talks Facebook group page too, and we can find them and get them answered there also. So don't hesitate, reach out.
All righty. This was beautiful, gorgeous. Thank you, Kay, so much.
It's always an honor.
And thank you, Laura.
Oh, thank you, Helmut.
Such a delight. And thanks for joining us, and we see you next time.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Helmut.
Thanks, Kay.
Love
Thank you, everybody.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you all.
I'm going to let it go for a little bit because the stream needs to come down to Facebook so we don't cut off in the middle. But thank you so much. See you next time.